Hey friends, before you go on that green card, things are starting to get really interesting with U.S. immigration. Can Donald Trump give you a green card? Hey guys, before you file for your spouse, guys, come on in. All right, come on in, everyone. Type in freedom now, freedom now. I'm live on all the social platforms as well as YouTube. It's a pleasure to be with you guys tonight on this Friday night. We have some really important things to discuss, so come on in. Hey there, Janet. Good to see you. If you're watching on TikTok, double tap the screen. I'm Latoya McBean Pompey, an immigration lawyer in New York, working with clients nationwide at McBean Law. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. It's so great to see the usuals, the folks who are always here supporting this channel. Hey there, Mike. Thank you so much. Type in freedom now. And guys on YouTube, McBean Immigration TV, let me know how the audio is tonight. I know last night we had some major problems. So let me know in the comments how the audio sounds to you tonight. Thank you for being with me. We're going to be talking about expedited removal, guys. Removals. Okay, expedited removals. Now, someone on my team says that the audio is good. Okay, is the audio good on your end? McBean Immigration TV, let me know. Freedom now, freedom now. Expedited removal, guys. This is, honestly, this is the worst that I think this is going to be the worst of what we've been discussing this week, okay? So I'm just going to deliver the message, deliver what is going on so that you could be empowered and educated and know what you should think about doing. And for many of you, you will need a lawyer to help you. You'll understand why I say this once we get going with this presentation tonight. I do have some slides that I'm going to take folks through on McBean Immigration TV. So just hop over to YouTube if you'd like to see my slides. Or what you can do is after tonight's session, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, certainly you can watch the replay on YouTube on McBean Immigration TV. Guys, our contact information, of course, is scrolling above. You may reach out to us at McBean Law at 914-898-9488 to book an appointment with an attorney. We're located in White Plains, New York, but we work with clients nationwide, okay, all over the country and in many different countries as well. So type in freedom now and let's get going with this. So we've been talking about a lot of the different changes that are ahead under this Trump administration, and they've really hit the ground running, guys, just like we thought that they would, because they had been preparing for a long time for this moment. And also they're a lot more experienced. They had a lot of policy changes during their first term, and so they were ready to go with their memos, with their ideas. I mean, like ready to go. And this week, we've already seen some significant memos published, so to speak. There are some others that they've alluded to that they have not made public yet. But nonetheless, the major one that I'm discussing tonight has to do with expedited removals, deporting people quickly without a court process, without a lengthy removal process before an immigration judge. So we're going to talk about who will be subjected to this new expedited removal process, and also a lawsuit that has been filed by the ACLU to stop this this new this expanded use of expedited removals. We're going to discuss that lawsuit as well. Guys, let's get into the presentation now. So expedited removals have been was the topic of discussion, a major topic of discussion today in a meeting with close to 1,000 attorneys, immigration attorneys, at the that meeting that was led by AILA, the American Immigration Lawyers Association. I sat in on that meeting, and this was a very hot topic that they discussed today. We were just listening, really. How does it work currently? Well, how did it work under the Biden administration? So, under the Biden administration, they were able to immediately turn people away, of course, who attempts to enter the United States illegally, let maybe through passport fraud at the airport, and and the customs officer discovers that your visa is fraudulent, or you're trying to commit fraud, or for whatever the reason is, or you're trying to enter into the United States for the wrong reasons, maybe to work and you're a visitor. So they would just do it, this is the standard thing, right? They would turn you away, expedited removal, and they would tell you that you're banned from returning to the United States for a number of years. Also, people who they would catch at the border. These are individuals who are also subjected to expedited removal. However, as you guys saw over the last few years, a whole lot of people were not turned away. They were admitted into the United States through various means. So, under the Biden administration, guys, if an individual was within 100 miles of the border, a land border, and they had been here for less than 14 days before they encountered an immigration official, they would be subjected to this expedited removal process. Again, keep in mind, 100 miles of the border, land border, and within 14 days of being here in the United States. Now, how will it work under the Trump administration? This new expanded policy, which was introduced through an executive order earlier this week, and we've discussed it, but I was waiting for this moment to go into greater details with you about this. It applies to individuals who had not been admitted or paroled into the United States. In other words, people who entered illegally, and they did not arrive by sea or boat, and they were encountered by Border Patrol. Here's the thing, not even by Border Patrol, immigration officials. If they are more than 100 miles from the border and you've been here less than 2 years. So they're moving, guys, away from, oh, you have to be close to the border and, 14 days. They're moving away from that to anywhere in the United States. The interior, this is called interior enforcement. They are getting in there more than 100 miles from the border, and you've been here less than 2 years. Okay. For others, they are within 100 miles of the land border, and they've been continuously here in the United States for at least 14 days, but less than 2 years. Okay. So those are those who are within that 100-mile radius. But for the most part, the folks who are really going to be impacted by this, as I've said to you over the last few months, a couple of months, right? As we've been talking about, like the three major groups of individuals who will be the target for deportation efforts. I've told you time and time again, those with a criminal record, those with a removal order, and thirdly, recent arrivals. You guys, if you've heard me say that before in other videos, they're out there. Recent arrivals, people who entered the United States over the last couple of years, who the Trump administration, from their standpoint, they view those recent entrants as illegal. They should not be here. Millions of people came in that way. So we're going to try to get those millions of people out. And so we know that many millions are here less than 2 years. So let's target those many people and use this expanded power to get those people and get them out. And if by chance we happen to get anyone else who's with them, because we know that undocumented folks spend time with other undocumented folks, well, there you have it. We will get them into the system as well, although those other people may not be subjected to expedited removal. So that's huge, okay? Because here you're talking about a very large number of people under this expanded, expedited removal power. So this impacts, if you're looking at the slide on YouTube, I have my little note here which says that This impacts non-citizens in the United States who entered in the past 2 years living anywhere in the United States. Let's go to the next slide. Oops. The next slide says DHS aggressive actions. And this is coming directly from a memo that DHS published on January 23rd, yesterday. I'm not going to go through the 2-page memo, okay? I won't go through it. I'll just touch on the major points. The major point of that memo, it is the fact that if DHS is aware of you, non-citizen, who they think should have been removed, you should not have been here all this time, over the last year or 6 months or however long you've been here. Well, if they're aware of you and you fit their expedited removal criteria, they should take all necessary steps or take all steps necessary to review your case and consider applying expedited removal against you, including, now get this, guys, get this, terminating your removal proceedings. Yes, terminating the removal proceedings. Or, and for some people it might be and terminating parole status. That's what this memo is talking about here. So here's what this means. It means that you entered into the United States, maybe through one of the parole programs that you thought was, oh, this was legal entry, right? So I'm in the clear. Again, they don't think it was legal. So you entered into the United States through one of these programs, parole programs, and you're here and you're in removal proceedings because you're not in the clear entirely, right? You have to bring a case before an immigration judge. You're in removal. The Trump administration is saying, well, we want to terminate or dismiss your removal process, your due process, right? You know, due process rights, right? We want to stop your due process and we want to quickly get you out of the United States. Now, today in our meeting, of course, and through other materials that we've been given through the association, there are strategies that lawyers, immigration lawyers, are thinking about now. And I won't get into those strategies in this public forum, but there are strategies for an attorney to be incredibly aggressive to fight for you in the event that they are trying to strip away the right for you to continue your removal process. And it's, there's a certain point, for instance, if you're in removal, but you've never been given a hearing date yet, and you've been waiting months, might even be over a year. And I sometimes meet with people like that. As a matter of fact, this week I met with someone who I met with 2 years ago who didn't have a hearing date 2 years ago. And when he met with me this week, he still didn't have a hearing date, but he's still in removal. So in a scenario like that, if an individual is in removal, you don't have a hearing date yet, it's possible that an administrative process can happen to dismiss the whole thing, right? And so if that happens, and then next thing you know, from their standpoint, right, the administration standpoint, well, you could be subjected to expedited removal. Although, and you might be saying, but wait a minute, I was in removal proceedings before an immigration judge, although I haven't had my day in court yet. I didn't go through pleadings. I didn't file an application. I haven't filed anything with the court. I do plan on filing for asylum, but I just hadn't gotten around to it yet. Well, according to this expanded use of expedited removal, you would be more vulnerable to falling into this trap, okay, that they've set. And for those of you with parole status, they're terminated, they've already terminated the CHV, whatever, what is it? CHNV parole program, right? For Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. The CB1 app process has also been stopped immediately, day one, right? So these individuals, they have parole. They were paroled into the United States, paroled in, but now they are targets under this expanded process. Now, let's just move me out of the out of the view here. Anyone with parole that has been paused, modified, or terminated is at risk for expedited removal. Anyone, okay, with this parole, okay? Give me a moment. Oops. Let's do this. Okay, so that's what this memo is. You can read these memos that the government is publishing by just doing, you could do a Google search yourself and pull up DHS memo. It's January 23rd, 2025, guidance regarding how to exercise enforcement discretion. Now, today, I don't think it was today actually, but the ACLU filed a lawsuit. The ACLU filed a lawsuit to stop this because of obviously the constitutional violations that this triggers. Okay. So now, with that being said, I think I can't find my other notes. So I've got to stop right there and just go right into questions. But guys, I've covered the main ones. So I have my, so funny, right? I have all of this set up and everything. And the moment you need to find something, it's lost somewhere else. So yeah, so the ACLU guys filed a lawsuit to stop this specifically because of the constitutional implications of this type of expanded use of expedited removal. Now, with that being said, I'm happy to answer a few questions tonight. It is Friday night, it is late, but I wanted to get this information in front of you. Let's see, what questions do you guys have? And by the way, double tap the screen tonight on TikTok, double tap. Thank you very much. And if you have not yet seen, I'm going to go to questions now, Freedom Now. If you have not yet seen any of the videos or live sessions that I had this week about travel bans that are coming and some other stuff about the invasion and everything that I've been covering, spend some time this weekend on McBean Immigration TV and just watch these things again, okay? Watch those videos. Any good immigration attorney in Florida? So yes, there are obviously a lot of good immigration attorneys across the country, okay? We work in Florida. We work with clients in Florida. I'm going to recommend me, okay? I'm not going to give any other shout out tonight. That was a fun question, but it depends on what you're involved in, okay? If you're detained in Florida, we're not the best choice for you. It just really depends on the circumstances. Many times a person who is detained will need to have someone on the ground locally who can go in, establish the attorney-client relationship. Not unless, guys, if you have a lawyer, okay? And these are just some tips here, but if you have an attorney, and you should absolutely have a copy of that attorney's G28 with you if you're vulnerable, like the folks who I've mentioned tonight under this expanded use of expedited removal. If you find yourself, if you fit the description of what I've discussed tonight, certainly have a G28 from the lawyer who you've hired. Have a copy of that with you, and certainly have a copy of the card of the lawyer with you at all times. Just fold it up, or fold it up tightly and keep it on you so that it will be easy to establish, to show that this person is your lawyer. Because the way that these expedited removal processes work, friends, it happens very, very quickly. And so for some people, certain actions will need to be filed in court, in federal court, not immigration court, because that might be too slow for this process that I've described tonight, but in federal court to stop your removal based on constitutional violations, particularly if you already have a removal case going. They also talked about in this memo other people who are vulnerable to this new policy, those who had not filed an asylum case yet. You entered into the United States and you just didn't file it within that 1 year deadline within that rule. So they say here that you're vulnerable to this. Okay. All right. Let's go. Freedom now, guys. Freedom now. Freedom now. Freedom now. Kind of wish I could find my other notes, but that's okay. It's already in here, right? I spent a lot of time thinking about this today. Freedom now. Freedom now. If someone came through the border but filed for asylum, is that person still going to have some problems? So with your asylum case, you still have that due process right to have your day before the judge in court, but you should speak with an immigration lawyer to discuss certain strategies about whether this policy could apply to you or not. And if it does apply to you, what strategy that lawyer can take you through. I already have the strategies. I learned some things today from our association. I'm not going to discuss those things here. You work one-on-one with your lawyer on your strategy, okay? But just know that there are ways that you could fight against things like this, okay? Freedom now. Freedom now. Great to see you guys. If you're finding this helpful to you, certainly give it a thumbs up, okay, on McBean Immigration TV. Thank you. Thank you. Freedom Now. Someone says Project 2025. There is a lot of Project 2025 influence in the policies that we're seeing come out this week, certainly. But like I said, the Trump administration was just ready to go. They hit the ground running because they had a test run, right? And so they were ready. They were ready. They don't have to spend time writing anything and all of that. They're ready to go. They're ready to just resurrect and expand. And this is definitely a huge, huge thing that they've done. I'm hopeful that an injunction would be placed on this one as well. Do I think that they're going to cut off all applications in process for immigrants awaiting their embassy appointments in Juarez in Mexico? I don't, there's there, there's things happening between Mexico and the US right now, right? There's the Remain in Mexico policy that the Trump administration would like to enforce, but they also need Mexico's agreement on that. And then there's tariffs, there's the Gulf of Mexico versus the Gulf of America. There's all these things happening politically that's interfering with things. So it's hard to say how these larger goals that the Trump administration has, whether how those goals are going to impact immigration processes. Certainly, we know from what I've discussed with you a few nights ago that they're working on some sort of evaluation to determine countries that they are likely going to have a partial or a full or complete travel ban against. Countries like Mexico, our partners for so many years, we're going through an interesting time right now with that relationship. So it's hard to say. I just don't know. How about the EB1 visa process? I think, Marianne, the EB1 process will be fine. However, again, everything will depend on which countries they try to slap a travel ban on, and it will depend on whether you're here in the US or overseas. They would like to bring in more foreign talent and people who have extraordinary skills and abilities, like you, perhaps. But at the same time, they're going to review all visa programs and try to tweak some things, make some changes, and see what they can do. Can you please repeat in summary what you talked about for those that just joined, please? So certainly, I'm going to have this shown again on Instagram. It's going to be published on Instagram. But in a nutshell, the Trump administration this week has expanded expedited removal, which is a fast removal process outside of the court system. They've expanded it to individuals who are on the interior of the United States, anywhere in the United States. You don't have to just be right by the border. And it's not just, oh, within the first 14 days of you being here, it's up to 2 years. So now you might be saying, well, does that mean that I've got to walk around with that Verizon bill to show that I've been in America for the last 4 years paying my Verizon bill? Or I have to walk around with my lease showing that I've lived at this house or apartment for the last 7 years, 8 years? Is that what you're saying, McBean? So, yeah, I'm saying that you've got to have some proof on you that you've been here for some time. Okay. It's, mistakes are going to happen when, mistakes always do happen when they apprehend some folks. They're targeting, really honestly, guys, let's just be real. They're targeting, from what I've been seeing, a lot of the targeted efforts are those with a very serious criminal record. Okay. So let's just set that aside for a moment. They're doing their job. Law enforcement, right? Law enforcement, everyone wants to be safe, right? And so public policy leans in favor of of safety. But we know, though, that through this expedited removal process and other processes that they've introduced this week, that they're going to be going beyond the criminal aliens. They're going to go deeper into anyone who entered through maybe the parole over the last 2 years. They're cutting off the parole, they're stopping it. And they say that if they stop it or amend it or anything like that, you can just easily be subjected to this expedited removal process. That's what they're doing. And so that's going to impact people who are not criminal aliens. Okay. So there's a lot of different a lot of parts moving right now. Okay. A lot of it. What is going to happen with TPS? So TPS, someone is asking about El Salvador. So TPS is kind of not the priority right now. Okay, it's just it's just not a major threat to today, this week. It's other types of programs, parole programs, that they just absolutely abhor, and they thought it was a misuse of the parole authority. So they are just looking to slash, cut, and those types of status. Well, ability to be here in the United States under those particular status. Okay. But TPS for now is not a major priority. You know, could be next week. I don't know. Could be another 6 months that it becomes a priority, but it's harder to really see the impact from TPS than something like what they're doing now with expedited removal. All right, come on in, guys. Type in freedom now. So watch the replay so that you'll get the full overview of what I've shared, okay? Thank you. Expedited removal. Thank you. So there are thousands of people watching across all platforms. So please don't take it personal if I miss your question. There are literally, I'm telling you, there's also a lot. The first night we had over 30,000 people. Okay, so be patient with me. If you would like to have an answer to your question, hire a lawyer who can really go deeper with you. Okay. But just know that there are thousands of people watching across all platforms right now. Thank you. I'm doing the best that I can. All right, guys, double tap the screen on TikTok. Freedom Now. Are you at risk if you have a pending I-130 and I-485 case? No, I don't. I do not think, generally speaking, that an individual is at risk who's going through the green card process, I-130, I-485 process. Okay. What's going to happen with administratively closed asylum cases? So administratively closed cases, this individual has an asylum application on file with the court, and I think it's a he, I'm not sure, also potentially has a work permit that they've just been renewing, right? Renew the work permit all the time, right? And it could be for years. So there's speculation that potentially some cases that have been administratively closed in court will be recalendared because during the first term, some cases were recalendared. It's really kind of hard to know um, how it's going to impact most folks in that scenario. Okay. Thank you, guys. Freedom Now. Thank you. I've answered that already. How about those who have been denied for citizenship but still are green card holders? So I would say that, most people will be still fine and not targeted. But then again, I don't know the reason why your naturalization application was denied. For some people, they make the mistake and apply for citizenship, and they actually have a very serious criminal record, perhaps something that could make them deportable, and they didn't think that, oh, this would be a problem because I got away. It happened after I became a green card holder or whatever the case might be. But your case would, cases denied under those kinds of reasons could potentially put an individual at risk for removal proceedings. But an individual in that situation would not be subjected to expedited removal because this person has been here for longer than 2 years. Okay, thank you, guys. You have great questions tonight. I don't see any changes right now to VAWA. I haven't read anything about any changes to VAWA. Thank you. Um, what are Trump's plans for international students on an F1 visa? I have not seen anything related to business or employment or students. I have not seen any major changes impacting those individuals at this early stage. Do I know what's going to happen with pending DACA cases? I do not. I really don't. Again, I think with DACA, it's going to eventually make its way all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. New Jersey, someone says, what about New Jersey? All that I know about New Jersey right now is that they're building capacity to house more, detain more people. That's what I know about New Jersey. In addition to, obviously, yesterday they ICE arrested over 500 people, and there's comparison of data showing that last year, this time, I think, that they arrested maybe 200 and something people. So they arrested a lot of people yesterday in New Jersey. And I heard too that one of those individuals is a US citizen. I have not had time to really dive into that story because I'm trying to keep up with the law. I'm trying to focus in on the law, okay, so that I could help you guys out, all right, and certainly our clients. Someone is asking about in what grade can ICE go into. So, ICE will be carrying out their enforcement activities at schools, in or near schools, courthouses, according to a new policy yesterday that I spoke with you guys about the courthouse policy, unless there's some jurisdiction laws that would say, hey, you can't do it here in this courthouse, right? Or near this courthouse, some boundaries. Um, and some states do have things like that on their in their laws. But as far as saying you can't come here to this school, they schools schools are limited in terms of what they can do. Yes, they can ask for a judicial warrant. Yes, they could ask them to stay outside and wait a little bit and all of that. But at the end of the day, if they do have that warrant, they have the right to detain that individual, as well as do that at the workplace, at a job site as well. Okay. And they've been really sharing a lot more information about targeted, just to help people to understand that what they're doing is targeted, which means they've investigated already. They know about these individuals, they know their names, they know their criminal record, they know things about them. And so that's what they've been trying to educate the public about, that it's all targeted. But of course, there will be some collateral impact as well. Someone say, wait, what's happening? Watch the replay. Expedited removals have been expanded under this Trump policy, but a lawsuit was filed very quickly by the ACLU to stop it. Okay. Thank you guys. Freedom now, freedom now, freedom now, which has been our theme since 2023. We believe in freedom to be your best here in the United States. Let's go. If you could hone in on questions related to the Trump. Do a quick question. Any changes on the T visa process? I have not seen any changes yet to anything like that. And again, it's Congress that has to really, really make the difference with statutory humanitarian processes like VAWA, T visa, U visa, asylum, right? Someone says, I feel very bad for lawful immigrants. Yeah, so lawful immigrants, I don't know who they are. What do you mean by lawful immigrants? By the way, parole, and these individuals, they entered through a program that the Biden administration, or an opportunity that the Biden administration created for them. Again, the Trump administration is going after those individuals, as we've been talking about for the last. This should not be too much of a surprise, right? If you've been listening and you've been actively listening to what I've been saying over the last couple of months, I don't even know how I knew that. But sometimes, it's just you get the feeling. But I'm just kidding, guys. It just made a whole lot of sense to me that they would be going in a direction like this. So I started to warn you about it a while back. So not too much of a surprise. Okay. Let's keep going. Someone says that I've noted many times that serious crime is what would get folks in trouble for what is meant by serious crime. So, serious crime, by the way I'm thinking about it going forward, to be quite frank, is I'm connecting that phrase or to green card holders now. Because the reason why I'm saying this is because the Lake and Riley Act passed, and they're now throwing in things that are not serious, too serious, right? Like shoplifting. They're throwing in things like that. And I've also heard that Congress on the House side, they're working on more legislation that will be coming out over the next few weeks that are really going to go after other criminal issues. Okay. Don't know specifically what they are quite yet, but we've been advised that more will be coming, kind of similar to the Lake and Riley. So they're becoming a little bit more lax with crime, okay, with respect to legislation and all of that. So someone is asking here, does a single misdemeanor conviction for possession of controlled substance for personal use count as a serious criminal conviction? Well, a controlled substance is a serious issue still to the government, okay? Not unless it's a simple possession of marijuana, 30 grams or less. That's it. That's the only one that would allow an individual to ask for a waiver for that controlled substance violation. And guys, controlled substance could be many things, even if it's for personal use. I don't know, right? It could be many things. So this particular administration is zero tolerance. This is zero tolerance. Misdemeanor, it doesn't matter. Felony, felony is, you want to avoid any form of criminal activity. Okay, let's keep going. You guys have great questions tonight. Expedited removal is they're trying to expand expedited removals. Oh, I really wish. Oh, now I know why I lost my notes, because Microsoft signed me out. I've been signed out of Microsoft, so I've been cut off. I have no idea how that happened. Maybe because the system is saying, why is she working on a Friday night? This isn't right. Yeah, Our system just cut me out. That's fine. Um, what's going to happen with people who have an I-130 approval and a pending I-601A waiver? Okay, so um, most people will still be okay. Most people will still be fine. Um, but, Gabriella, speak with an immigration lawyer for further advice about um, your background. But, if you have an I-130 that's been approved, then you have a pending I-601A. It sounds to me like you've been here for a long time, right? You sounds also like there's illegal entry on your record, which is why potentially you need that I-601A waiver. But if you have deeper concerns, speak one-on-one with your lawyer, or you can have a consultation with someone at our office, okay? Freedom now, guys. Freedom now. Thank you for being with me tonight. Double tap the screen on TikTok. Thank you. Someone says it's terrible that everyone has to go through this scary situation. Yeah, it's not amazing right now. But despite the the level of intensity that this type of policy um, has created, this is a new level, even for a lot of us immigration lawyers, because we're going to have to be doing some sort of certain strategy that many of us have never done before to be much, much more aggressive, particularly on the constitutional battle side of things. Okay. All right. Let's see. Thank you. Do you think it's going to be harder for permanent residents to become U.S. citizens? It just depends, honestly. Your people are still going to be able to apply and get through and be sworn in. You'll still see all of that happening. It's just that, we all have to get used to the idea of possibly having to the burden, right? You just have to be able to make sure everything is covered and that you're crystal clear in your filing about your background and your eligibility and all of that, and just be ready to go. I haven't seen anything yet that really suggested that they're going to make it harder on the naturalization test side of things. But, I think they started on that. Yeah, they did the first term, but they did not, obviously, they weren't successful. They didn't see that to completion. I just think things, generally speaking, will become tougher with immigration. Okay, so that's what we're expecting. And thank you, Caitlin. And for those of you on the school side of things, I am working on that. I'm going to try to sleep in tomorrow morning, clear my head, and then I'm going to go for a 3-mile walk. And then I don't like telling people what I'm going to do in advance. I just like to do what I'm going to do. But just stay tuned, okay? Just stay tuned. I'm thinking about the education side of things, the schools and the churches. Okay. Um, does this mean you need to carry your DACA card? So, generally speaking, if an individual has some sort of lawful status in the United States, it's a great idea to carry your proof with you. If you have some paperwork that shows you have a case pending, it's a good idea to show that you have something in motion. It's a good idea to carry your green card with you. That's the rule, right? Now is not the time to be slack in that area. Carry around your stuff, carry around your lease, your utility bill, carry around those kinds of things to show that you've been here for more than 2 years, right? You've been here for a while, all right? Someone says, Richie says, you're always working. Richie, you know what? Vacation is coming up soon. So I go hard. I prepared for this. I knew this was going to be the case because this isn't the first rodeo. This is Trump 2.0, right? So I knew I had to go hard. All right. Let's see. Patrina says, do you hear anything about immigrants that is here for 7 years working and paying taxes? No. And if that, Patrina, has to do with anything that was some sort of legislative proposal during the Biden years, there's, that's not going to be resurrected in any real way over the next 4 years. I don't know anything about, I don't think, obviously, there's not going to be any amnesty, right, or any opportunities to make things easier for anyone, particularly those outside of the United States. Does a DUI conviction impact the I-485 process, and are they at risk of expedited removal? So, the way I'm looking at it now, Dee, and anything's possible, right, on the criminal side that will impact an immigration case. But, when you have your lawyer can argue on your behalf. If a waiver is available for a particular criminal matter, then the lawyer should prepare the waiver, the I-601 waiver with the case, and make a strong argument for you. I mean, that's certainly going to be our strategy. And with the expedited removal, as I've said, this expanded power based on the memo and there's another memo, a notice that they published that we had synthesized. I can't find those notes right now, but based on the fact that the memos, they're focusing on individuals who have been here less than 2 years, okay? And then also those who have were paroled in somehow through one of the Biden parole opportunities. Okay. And you guys, have you heard about people who have self-deported, people who came in through one of these paroles? They're leaving now because of the stress and of what they're hearing. I read an article about one lady, and they made it sound like it's like there's so many people leaving now. I just find that hard to believe. But you guys tell me what you're hearing. I just don't think people will just leave like that. Like a lot of people will just leave the US. It's just highly unlikely. Thank you guys. Let's see. Any updates for I-360 process? No. What do you think about SIJ, Special Immigrant Juvenile Status? So that's a statutory process, very hard to touch, very, very difficult to touch. I haven't heard anything in particular about and how any of what I've discussed this week will impact SIJ, other than to say that, carry that receipt with you showing that you have your SIJ case pending or it's approved. And, whatever receipts you have from USCIS showing that you have a case, make sure you have your copies, right? Okay. Let's see. Let's keep going. If you have a case pending with USCIS, are you going to be okay? Most people will be okay. Most people will absolutely be okay. What's this? I have an I-751 removal of conditions case pending. Can a spouse, if a U.S. citizen, file for divorce, or should it be the other way around? So with the I-751 process, individuals can still get through on their own after a divorce. There's a way to do that. We do that type of case, of course. You'd have to prove that you were in a genuine marriage, but it ended in divorce. But you've got to be careful with it, because if the I-751 process does not work out for you, you will go out of status, and under a very aggressive administration, they will just place you in removal. Even under the Biden years, they were placing people in removal. Some people whose 751 was denied. So if you make the decision to divorce, that's your personal decision, of course. Just know that there are ways to still move forward with your case on your own. All right, thank you. Freedom Now. Double tap the screen, guys. Double tap the screen. He came through parole. Can I file for my brother? He came through the parole. Yes, you could file. Someone is asking whether they could file for their brother. The brother came into the United States through one of the parole process. So yes, you can do that, but just be aware of the fact that, it's a lengthy process for your brother. I'm not certain if that's going to hold him here truly based on how aggressive things are right now. Thank you, Nyla. I received that. Thank you. Um, let's see. Are overstayed F1 students in big trouble or high risk? I don't really think so right now. It just really depends on their background. Again, they're looking for um, individuals with a criminal record, those with a removal order, and then thirdly, the recent folks, right? Recent arrivals, 2 years or less, under 2 years, through these various programs. Parole. Is military parole in place still available? Yes, they don't like parole. They don't like parole, but this is still in place, okay? This is still in place. And if you have an opportunity to file a military parole in place case, you should definitely file it right away. We have some of those, and I find them to be high priority cases. Will requesting a FOIA open me up to ICE? So I've never, I could just speak from my experience. I've never seen it impact anyone in a negative way. In my view, requesting your FOIA is just a simple administrative process. Sometimes the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing in government. We know that to be true. So I've not seen it hurt, but speak with a lawyer one-on-one for that for a different opinion if you'd like. Will travel bans impact applications that were submitted before the new administration? Maybe. Why do I say maybe? I'm just thinking what happened the first time around. Of course, people were, remember we had a pause of everyone in the family preference category. Remember they were not moving forward with interviews, scheduling interviews. Everything just kind of came to a real halt based on COVID and the national emergency and all of the rationale that we had at the time. Well, now there's a new rationale. There's an invasion, so there's been a declaration of emergency that we're under. There, it's an invasion. So anyone who's trying to come into the United States now is an invader. Coming, through the border, not you through your application process, of course. But you understand what I'm saying, that those bigger policies can inevitably impact any application that's out there pending, particularly if you're overseas. Okay. Whew, that's a mouthful. That's a mouthful. All right, guys. Let's go. Freedom now, freedom now. I'm just looking to see what other questions I could answer for you before I head out tonight. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, here's a super chat. Let's try to get some super chats in tonight. Okay, so someone says in the super chat, I have an I-797 approval. Will they stop appointment? I've been waiting for 2 years. Well, what's your I-797 connected to? What type of case do you have? Is it just an I-130 family petition that was filed for you and it's been pending for 2 years? If you're in a family preference category or even in an employment category, the visa bulletin governs, right? It just gives you a good idea of how far our government has gone with your category. And so That's really what you should be checking. Will they stop appointments? It's possible under a travel ban that they would do that. But if you're not in a zone or nation that would be a risk for a travel ban, then I wouldn't worry too much about appointments being stopped unless they have some other rationale that they're putting in place to really slow down the process at US embassies. Okay, thank you for that. Someone says in another super chat, I received a deferred action from a U visa case. Should I have a copy with me at all times? If I get stopped by ICE, what should I say? So um, you should have a copy of any receipts, anyone, have a copy of the receipts that you've received from USCIS showing, you know, whether it's the deferred, yeah, obviously deferred action, a pending U visa case, have something with you and know your rights. There's materials out there. I have a trending video right now. Apparently, I'm trending on TikTok. I don't even know how that happened, but there's a trend going on right now with all my Know Your Rights stuff. Watch some of those. Read what the ACLU and other organizations have out there about your rights, because you absolutely do have rights. If you encounter ICE or if you encounter the police, it's a very good idea to know your rights. Someone is asking another super chat question. Thank you, Ajayi. Okay, so Shanae wants to know, my wife's waiting on her interview date for citizenship. Can we put in my papers for adjustment of status? So if you've been an individual who is here in the United States who have overstayed a visa and they're married to a green card holder, that individual isn't eligible for adjustment of status through their spouse. They would have to wait until the spouse becomes a US citizen and the spouse has her naturalization certificate in hand, to then apply for adjustment of status. Thank you. Um, whew. Why did I mention super chats? Like they're all coming in now. Why? Next time I'm not going to mention it, guys. Okay, let's see. Can one get detained? Can one get detained if they have an asylum case pending and they have their EAD and their social security number? So if any, we saw what happened in New Jersey yesterday. 500 and something people were detained. Do I know whether all 500 and something of them have, a criminal record? No, I don't know. Many of them probably did, but we don't know about the rest, right? So anything's possible really during this time. So if anyone is detained and they're going through an immigration process already, it is always a good idea to have proof that you're going through your process. And a lawyer can make arguments for you to be released. Not everyone will be released. We just saw that the Lake and Riley Act passed, which provides mandatory detention in certain circumstances, and also through the Trump executive orders we've been talking about this week, Annie, that they're expanding mandatory detention too in many different ways. They like to keep people in detention and not release them. So if that was to happen in a situation that you've described, of course, your attorney can make certain arguments for you. All right. So let's see. I've answered that one. Um, someone is asking, what about someone who works in a civilian position at the police department under DACA? So one thing to note is that, let's just verify this on TikTok real quickly to continue. Double tap the screen, TikTok. Double tap the screen. One thing to note is that we know DACA is on shaky grounds right now. And we also know that a work permit is still permissible through DACA right now. So, an individual who has a work permit is authorized to work in the United States. It's up to their unique and their employer to verify and ensure that you have the proper paperwork to work for them. Right now, I'm not hearing anything specific that says that they're going after DACA holders. I'm not hearing anything like that. The main focus, from my understanding right now, are criminal record individuals and parole, those with parole, because I think they want some bigger numbers than 500 and something people, right? That sounds so weak, right? You think, it sounds weak. So they're looking for a way um, to have larger numbers. And so that's what they're trying to do through this expedited removal powers. Let's see. Someone's asking about what about those who receive WIC, SNAP, Medicaid? I just don't think that's a great idea. They're cutting off, by the way, public benefits. We talked about that in one of the executive order um, live sessions. They're cutting. That's just not a good idea. I have yet to mention to you guys about public charge. I have yet to touch on that. Right? Biden had taken steps to codify public charge, to just have it his changes kind of like cemented a little bit in our rules, right? Does it mean, however, that the new Trump administration cannot try to go back to what they had going those years ago, which was like a real aggressive policy on public benefits and all of that? They can try to do that, but I didn't want to talk with you guys about public charge quite yet, not until they really try to open it up again for to crack down. Let's see. Let's see. Um, can a travel ban impact an applicant waiting for an interview, such as a derivative applicant in Nigeria? Yes, I mentioned that earlier, that a travel ban absolutely can impact a situation similar like that. Um, let's see. Okay, I want to go back to this real quickly. Any final questions from you guys before we all say goodnight? Let's see. Someone says, I have a EAD for 2 years. Okay. Can they really arrest a 6-year-old? Karine is asking. Karine, did you hear about them arresting a 6-year-old? I heard about some activities in, where was it? Iowa? Oh, I don't even want to say the wrong state, because I shared it on TikTok through a different creator, and then I thought to myself, oops, I don't think I need to unshare that because I couldn't verify it. So what are you guys hearing? And can it be verified? Certainly, it's going to be very, very bad optics to see them do that, take a 6-year-old in. But we've seen even worse optics at one point or another. We saw all those children in cages down at the border, right? We saw the families separated, kids. A lot of kids are still lost today, so the children unfortunately get caught up in this immigration mess. But we have seen worse things than that before, okay? Um, we really have, and it's very sad. Like I told you guys last night, McBean loss started from one pro bono case involving a 9-year-old boy who I was representing from El Salvador in his asylum case. That's how we started. So this kind of, this is really near and dear to our heart. Um, uh, can I get a job with your company? So I don't know. I don't know. You can apply by sending your resume to jobs@mcbeanlaw.com. I'm not certain whether we're running anything right now on LinkedIn or Indeed. Um, Always looking for great immigration lawyers, of course, with a strong experience um, to work with us here in New York in White Plains. Um, Send your resume. It might be considered. You never know. I don't often make the hiring decisions these days at the company, so just send your resume in and we'll see how it goes, okay? Um, let's see. Um, it's kind of hard to scroll through. Do you think Congress could solve the family immigration backlogs and caps for certain countries? I know that there's a significant push by the Indian lobby community. They're making a lot of strides in Washington in many different ways. But as far as um, what Trump might do this time around with Congress, I'm not certain on that. I very rarely follow things on the business side, as you guys know. Who's that? Debbie, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll be in the comments later, guys. What I'm gonna do now is 10:30. I'm gonna get a life. Okay. I'm going to go get a little life, unwind, but I will be in the comments. I'm reading, I'm responding. You will always know it's me. I'm in the comments. So I'll be in the comments tonight after I've gotten my little life back. And tomorrow, you might see me again. Um, but like I said, I don't really like to tell people all the time what I'm going to be doing, but I'm working on something else for you. And I'm thinking, am I going to do it live or am I going to record it? For me, it just has to come in the moment. So I'll see how it goes tomorrow. Guys, we all need some rest. Get some rest. If anything else big happens, we'll shoot it out on social media. I'll do a quick video. I might come live again. I'm on top of it. I'm trying my best. Thank you so much for encouraging me. Thank you so much for your good effort and your community. I love you guys. Stand strong, okay? Stand firm. Stand firm. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.